How did your family rules ruin your life forever? Every night at exactly 2:33 a.m. we had to cover our ears. As a kid, my mom told me, it's to prevent hearing loss. I never questioned it. I didn't want to go deaf, so I did what I was told. But now at 16, I started realizing that this rule made no sense. My friends laughed when I told them. I tried looking it up online, but I found nothing. The only real explanation my parents ever gave was that we needed to protect ourselves from the sounds coming from the manhole. They meant the one outside our house, right in the middle of our quiet street. It was an old road with barely a few houses, but oddly enough, all the families followed this rule too. At first, I didn't question it, but I needed to know what we were afraid of. One night, I decided to find out. With my earplugs in, I peeked out the window at 2:33 a.m. Nothing. The street was empty. No movement, no sound. I felt ridiculous. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw it. The manhole lid was moving, not slightly shifting, jumping up and down. I slammed the blinds shut. My heart raced. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I confronted my parents. I told them what I saw. They just stared at me. No anger, no denial, no explanation. Just a long blank stare. That was worse than any punishment. I let it go. Months passed, then years. But I noticed something else. My parents never slept before 3 a.m. Their alarm went off at 2:30 a.m. every night, just in time for them to be awake when the sounds began. One night I lost track of time. I had my headphones in, scrolling through my phone when I realized it was 2:20 a.m. I was thirsty, so I went downstairs for water. As I waited for the glass to fill, I glanced outside. Again, nothing. Then I turned off the faucet. Complete silence. Not the normal quiet of the night. The wrong kind of silence. The kind that makes your ears ring like the air itself is listening. I felt something behind me. I turned. My dad was sitting at the dining table. Dad? I stuttered. He didn't move. Just stared at the table. What are you doing here? And where are your earplugs? It's almost 2:33 a.m. I said. Sit down, he said calmly. I hesitated. He sighed and repeated, sit down. I obeyed. What time is it? He asked. Dad, it's almost 2:33 a.m. What are you doing? He didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed a bottle of wine and poured 2 glasses. I can't drink that, I said. Sure you can, he replied, sliding a glass toward me. Then he muttered. They were waiting. My stomach dropped. For what? I demanded. He ignored me and took a sip. That's when I realized he wanted us to hear the noise. No, we're not doing this. Are you out of your mind? I yelled, standing up. He looked at me dead in the eyes. Have you ever wondered what ruins your life? I froze. Are you truly happy, John? I didn't answer. I didn't know how to answer. The alarm in my parents' bedroom blared, making me jump. My dad took another sip of wine. Son, there are no sounds, he said. I refused to believe him. I ran upstairs, shoved in my earplugs, and waited for 2:33 a.m. My dad wasn't so lucky. The next thing I remember was waking up. I don't remember falling asleep. It was like the entire night had been erased. The morning light poured through my window. The silence felt wrong. I rushed downstairs, but my dad was gone. Instead, my mom was sitting at the dining table crying. What happened? I asked, panicked. John, sit down, she whispered. I slowly sat where my dad had been the night before. The wine bottle was still there, but everything else felt new. Your father lost his job yesterday? She said, wiping her tears. I froze. I don't know where he is. He's probably trying to get his job back, but she shook her head. I doubt he will. She grabbed the bottle and started drinking straight from it. My chest tightened. My hands were sweaty. My breathing turned shallow. Are you okay, honey? She asked. I looked at her. I started to cry. That's when I realized my dad wasn't trying to get his job back. He was trying to get his life back.